Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The state of Oklahoma is going to be awarding $158 million through ARPA funding. That's on top of a $374 million awards that they made back in January of this year. Be right back with more. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So, state of Oklahoma, this was in the Oklahoma Voice. The Oklahoma Board approves over $158 million in grants for broadband projects. This is through ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, and this is the capital projects funds, as you see here. The prior awards back in January was from the state and local fiscal recovery funds. We'll take a quick look at that here in a minute. But see here, over $158 million in broadband expansion projects were approved Thursday. This story was from September 26th, so it wasn't just this past Thursday, but the 50 awarded projects are funded by ARPA and the Capital Projects Fund. The Oklahoma Broadband Office had $159 million available to award for the projects. So I guess they held back $1 million. The projects will bring internet service to over 28,000 homes and businesses spanning 28 counties in Oklahoma, mostly in rural areas. Over 70 projects were denied due to high costs, and 3 others were approved in the event that more funding becomes available. The board unanimously approved projects with proposed costs per location of $10,000 or less in order to stretch the funding. The projects that were denied had costs per location over that threshold. So I don't know if that means every single one was $10,000 or those were just unanimously approved without even discussing it. Hopefully they discussed the costs and all of that. I'm thinking it means at this point they were saying if you were over $10,000, then you would not be getting funding, and would be my guess. Mike Sanders, executive director of the Oklahoma Broadband Office, said these projects are tentatively approved as contracts have not been signed yet, and there's a lot of work on the back end. All but one of the 50 approved projects were fiber projects, which Sanders called the gold standard of broadband because it lasts decades and maintenance is easier. That's true. These investments are a game changer for communities that have for far too long been left behind in the digital age. We're moving closer to ensuring that every Oklahoman has access to high-speed internet, essential for success in today's world. The 50 approved grants are for 12 different internet service providers. And the top awarded providers were Cox Communications. They had 9 contracts totaling $61 million. Dobson Fiber, 10 contracts totaling $24.7 million. Resound Networks awarded 11 contracts totaling $18.2 million. Resound is one of the top awardees in RDOF funds that actually did receive funding, or were approved for funding. They were doing a mix of wireless and fiber. And in RDOF, I believe it was over $300 million that they were awarded through that program. I don't know where they are as far as deploying all of that, but they were one of the top winners. And then some of those winners dropped out because of not being approved by the FCC. Atlas Broadband was awarded 8 contracts totaling over $17.6 million. And AT&T, on behalf of its affiliate Southwestern Bell Telephone, was awarded 3 contracts totaling over $14.1 million. It says this is the second round of approval for broadband grant funding by the board this year. Total funds awarded now total over $500 million. So that would be the prior one for $370-something million, and this one. After the round of approval, the projects will provide high-speed internet access to more than 66,000 locations in 57 of the state's 77 counties, according to a news release. So this would be all of that $500 million. That would include the prior January awards as well. The Oklahoma Broadband Office will next work to approve grants for the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, or the BEAD program. The BEAD program will provide over $750 million in grants to expand internet access in Oklahoma. This kind of shows you, BEAD is a huge amount of money, but then again, they've had access to $500 million through the ARPA, again, American Rescue Plan Act, part of the recovery from the pandemic, all of that funding. And again, this was through the Capital Projects Fund. So there were 2 funds in ARPA. The smaller one, Capital Projects Fund, was, I believe, $10 billion that was available to states, and they could use that for, capital projects like broadband. And then you had the state and local fiscal recovery funds. That was about $350 billion that was awarded. So if you look at the BEAD program BEAD is $42.45 billion. So you had more money through ARPA that was available. Not all of that had to go to broadband. A lot of that was for different kinds of infrastructure projects, but it just goes to show you how much money was out there even prior to BEAD, and BEAD has not yet been, the impact of BEAD is not felt yet because the states are still, starting to talk to potential subgrantees, depending on where they are. I didn't look to see where Oklahoma was, but depending on where they are with their challenge process and all of that. So again, lots of money there, and 66,000 locations when all said and done. 57 of the state's 77 counties. Doesn't mention anything about matching funds in here. And I'll look back real quick. This was back from January. So this was in Fierce Network. Oklahoma approves $374 million for broadband infrastructure projects. And you see here 142 broadband infrastructure expansion projects that will leverage a total of $374 million in grant funding. So quite a few more projects at that time. Money was made available through Oklahoma's ARPA state and local fiscal recovery funds. So that was a different, again, that was that different category of ARPA. 31 internet service providers, so there were more internet service providers in that round, over twice as many that were receiving the funding for that across 57 counties and covering more than 55,000 locations. The winning providers there were contributing more than $90 million in matching funds. So just close to 25% in matching funds were required in that one. It didn't say that in this one we were just looking at. So I don't know if it didn't have that or they didn't mention it. Mentioned here, providers have indicated plans to use fiber for more than 100 projects, while the remaining projects will use fixed wireless. So in this most recent one, there was just one project that was fixed wireless. So they had more of that. And you see here, Resound Networks was involved in that one. A wireless internet service provider was approved funding for 10 projects. So they might have been doing more fixed wireless with this first round of funds, because again, there was only one project in this most recent round of funds that were fixed wireless. Everything else was fiber. And you see you had AT&T and Cox in there as well. So anyway, good for Oklahoma. They've got this money that's going toward broadband deployment before they're getting their BEAD funding. So again, this is 66,000 or so locations that will not need to be using BEAD funding. So that will help them when they get their BEAD funding. And again, these were restricted to anything, locations that were $10,000 or less, which is not really, really expensive. As you get up closer to 10,000, that's above maybe the average that you would see if you were to, I don't know if it's the average or the mean, but anyway, in any event, a lot of times you see around $5,000-$6,000 per location, and you got locations that are less than that, and you got locations that are higher than that. You got some locations that are way, way higher than that, and that's where it gets difficult with the budget. So they were restricting this to $10,000, so that gives them more money for maybe some of those harder to reach places that they're going to have to look at with the BEAD funding. Thanks for joining me today for Broadband Deployment News. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button. Make sure the bell is rung to be notified when I'm live, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.